Hey guys, Lukewarm Mining here. So if you don't already know what this is from looking at it, and you didn't see the title of the video, this is, as you can see here, BC250, and all the way over here, an Asrock 4U 12G BC250 rig. So essentially what this is a 4U rack. I don't think this actually fits into a standard rack space, but I don't have a standard rack, so I can't check for you guys. But it is a 4U server that comes with 12 of these BC250 cards. They're essentially PS5 APUs, which is a GPU and a CPU combined into one piece with shared memory. It has 16 gigs of shared memory for it, with passive coolers on them that can mine CPU algorithms, GPU algorithms, or what they're very well known for is mining the combined algorithms like Warthog that use CPU and GPU to mine. In fact, these things were pretty much only really sold to do that. They get about so it's a little bit off on hashrate.no. They say they get 180 mega hash per second at like 200 watts. And actually now with the newest update to BZ Miner, shout out to him because he was super helpful in getting it optimized and running great on these things. They're up to 220 mega hash per second on them and running at around like 150 watts, and you can dual mine with them too. So because you can mine CPU and GPU on it, you can mine Ironfish, which AMD cards are really good at because this is the equivalent of like a 66 or 6700 XT. And because of how Warthog is set up, it doesn't put a huge load on the GPU. You can do both at the same time. So I'll go over how to do that and what I use tuning wise, at least on MMPOS, because I found that to be the best for this, just because of how they're configured. HiveOS, if you guys didn't hear, HiveOS used to be charging a stupid amount to run these BC250 cards because they were doing it based off of CPUs and not like a combination of CPUs and GPUs. And because this thing is technically 12 CPUs and 12 GPUs, the payment per month on them was a little weird, but they changed it now. It's fixed now on HiveOS. But I found it easier, at least for me, to run this thing on MMPOS. It's just significantly simpler. But anyways, before we get started on going over it, what to look through, what to check out, and then actually mining on this thing, getting it set up, and all the steps that you have to do for that, I want to give a huge shout out to PCSP. They ended up sponsoring this whole video and sending me out this equipment. They sent me out this brand new BC250 rig right here. They also sent me out this Octominer X12 that I will be doing a separate video on. This one is definitely refurbished, but honestly on the inside is like the cleanest thing ever. But they also sent this out because they wanted to promote this week. They're going to be doing a Black Friday sale. I will have a discount code down below and on the screen. Essentially, if you need any kind of like refurbished hardware or you're trying to get these BC250 rigs, especially with the huge pump from Warthog this week, it's over $1. It was at 50 cents earlier this week, or I guess you say like Monday, or yeah, about like Monday was in the 50-cent range. It skyrocketed this weekend. The trading volume was almost 10x'd on it. It's fantastic. So these things are super profitable right now, especially when you mine both iron and Warthog. Anyways, if you're trying to pick up one of these ones, trying to pick up an octominer because you want to get back into GPU mining, but you don't want to buy a brand new octominer, hit them up, 10% off. They also have other server equipment. So like they have like workstations and stuff. So if you're doing like salad rigs or you're trying to get into that kind of workspace, or if you're also still doing Warthog and you want something, more modern, they have refurbished workstations as well. So feel free to hit them up, order your stuff, let them know that I sent you. All right. Anyways, back to the show. We're going to go ahead and pop this open. I removed the screws on here already to get a good look inside of this thing. And it is dense on the inside here. But as you can see, each one of these is an individual BC250. So our APU, or GPU, CPU combo is right around here with these heat sinks. These are actually your header controllers. So these will control whether it clears CMOS, auto AC start. So these are already all clicked over to auto AC start. As you can see, they're basically just a CPU on a carrier card. They even have NVMe's down here, so you can use NVMe storage for your boot drives on these things. Technically, they can also Pixie boot too. I struggled with that, so maybe in a later video when I come up with a better solution on how to do some network booting, be great, because I think that is like one of the biggest drawbacks of these. But anyways, I'll cover that in just a bit. The cards come in here, they're all screwed in, all pre-configured. And they have a fan controller down here that plugs into the cards into like a proprietary port, and is cooled by these obnoxious, I think I can't tell, I think these are 40 millimeter fans. These things are absolutely horrible. Not horrible as in airflow wise. This thing stays very, very cool, at least for what you consider it is, especially after you've undervolted them and stuff like that. But they just have this tone to them that I can hear through 2 closed doors. So I am working on a fan mod for them. You've probably already seen them already. There's other people that have done fan mods to these to make it so you can put 120 millimeter fans on the inside. I just can't seem to find the STL file right now. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new file for it that will be flush fitting with these. Maybe use 25 or 28 millimeter 120s, just because, yes, they are maybe inherently a little bit louder decibel wise, but it's a much nicer tone. So it's less awful to listen to. Plus it will cover more area, because these technically go all the way down to where this backplane is, this power backplane. And the fans would reach all the way down there. Yes, they'll be breathing in through these holes, but I can just make a little slanted thing. Anyways, a little bit off topic there. So first things first, what I'm going to do is remove this front card right here. So this right here is what actually connects to the fan controller on this board, and it's plugged into this first card right here. So obviously, if you look at it from a larger scale, that means that all of its temperature readings are going to be read from the outside, not where the majority of the heat is going to be, which is towards the inside. Now, this cable isn't extraordinarily long. I think it reaches to about the 4th card in right here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is remove this card, kind of go over it with you guys and show you what the card looks like, take it apart, show you how to do maintenance on it, and then move this cable over to the 4th one right here, just so I'm a little bit closer to the center of the heat, where it's obviously the most, the heat's going to be the most dense, which is going to be right here, because you have the heat from these cards feeding in and kind of, radiating over. These cards are going to be radiating over as well, so it gets a better idea of, what's actually hot in the case. So after removing the 2 Phillips, I think they're Phillips 2s, they're just regular Phillips heads on there. I'm just going to go ahead and pull this card out. They're not really in there too tight, so you should probably be able to pull this out with 2 hands. And as you can see down there, it gives us kind of a glimpse for how this looks like. So as you can see, those are little proprietary power pins right here. By the way, on these cards, they can be ran with 8 pins as well, but these back planes also plug in, and that's how it works in these cases. And then if you look down there, there is our little fan controller hookup, and that's where it plugs in on these cards, is right here. These also have a little CPU fan header. Never tried plugging anything into it, so I don't know if it's actually functional. I'm going to assume it might be. So if you're running these cards by themselves, you might be able to put like a blower cooler on there. What I ended up doing is putting a big 120 millimeter fan on here and blowing through 2 of the cards. That seemed to keep them cool, because these things do pull upwards of 200 watts a piece. So what I went ahead and did is remove the number 1 card to disconnect the cable. And then I also removed the number 5 card so that I can stretch this cable across and get to the number 6 card with a little bit more room for my hands. Alrighty, so with the cable plugged back into the number 6 card and it's all set up now, let's go over a little bit more of the anatomy of the BC250 itself. So like I said before, look at that. There's that little 8-pin PCIe that plugs in here. That's rated for 175. As you can see, they have 2 of these 8 pins. They are not related to any kind of pin that I know of. They actually have a little bit shorter of a socket too, a little bit smaller than this guy. So what happens is this board will go and slot in on the pins on the distribution board, and that will power it inside the case. If you pull them out of the case, you need to test them. Guess what? Just right into any kind of power supply. It's regular 8-pin PCIe. There's that connector that I said, that little connector on the inside of the backplane board, or whatever, power distribution board, whatever you want to call it. Plugs into there. I guess this is what controls the fans and pulls all the temperatures and stuff like that and sends it back. There's a separate one right there for it as well. CMOS battery, because this is essentially just a computer on a a daughter board. Then there's your CMOS and your CMOS clear, and then your start on AC. So the way that these are set up is that once they receive AC power, they will just boot up. There's actually a switch on the front of the case that I will show you right now. That switch actually turns them on and off. There's a separate switch along with these ones that will tell the cards to turn on or not. So Right here, we have our NVMe connector. So you can put in a regular, an average sized NVMe in there. Use that to boot these devices. Like you said, there's not really any reason to do anything crazy. You can find these like really cheap, like 64, 128 gig, like DRAM-less ones, because you don't need the most expensive and best ones, because you're not really running these in Linux and stuff. There's been some people that have tried to build a driver for these so that they can run on Linux or Windows or something like that. No one's been super successful yet, and I just think there's not enough people to do that. When they do that, I think these things are going to be even more balling, because now these can be used as a cluster. But anyways, I'm a little bit ahead of myself. On the back side here, as you can see, we have some typical PCIO. So this guy right here is actually your power, and I believe this one is reset. These will light up once the card boots up. You have your USB 2.0. That is actually a display port right there. Two USB 3.0s, which I will be using to boot these, and Ethernet. And then this guy right here is actually a light. So when the CPU and GPU are running and mining, this will actually turn green. So I find it to be a really good indicator. So a nice part with any of these data center or, data center cards is they're usually fairly simple to take apart. The BC250 is no different than any other one. So all you gotta do to remove the heatsinks on these guys is remove these screws right here and these ones as well. All right, so I went ahead and removed the 4 spring-loaded screws and the 4 outer screws on this back plate. If memory serves me correctly, the heatsink should just pop off now. It is a little bit stuck. This thing has a ton of thermal paste and pads on it, so you are gonna have to pry it a little bit. And there you have it disassembled. So as you can see, we have a little tiny bit of thermal paste up on here. It's a little bit dry, but it seems okay to me. This one right here, obviously the heatsink, you can see it's an aluminum heatsink with a copper insert in the center of it. And you can see the cooling for the VRMs here. Obviously not as insane as the freaking cat. Not as insane as like the CMP cards, which have like a 600 watt setup. These are a little bit lower wattage compared to those ones, or at least designed to be lower wattage than those. As you can see, it actually still even has like a south bridge and everything. It is essentially just a fully functioning computer, just not, no firmware or anything like that. But these are things I'd be looking out for, especially on used ones, checking to see if the thermal paste is dry. I mean, honestly, this one feels okay because I think it is a brand new unit, but honestly, if my temperatures don't really improve or they start getting up into the 90s, I'd probably take these all apart and repaste them. The pad design is pretty simple too. I mean, it looks like it's just probably 1 mil pads, and these ones look like they're probably 1 mil as well. Just keep track of where they are, replace them out. These ones are super wet though. These feel good, so don't think I'm gonna have to replace them. Alrighty, so I got the cards reinserted. I got the fan connector connected over here. We're now on the back side of the machine, or the front side, depending on how you set this up. I think I'm going to reverse all the fans in here and have them blowing or pulling air through it, blowing out rather than blowing air across it. I'm not sure. See if it makes a difference on temperatures. But the biggest reason why is this is a pain. Basically because each one of these is its own blade. Like I said earlier, each one has its own Ethernet port. Means you have 12 Ethernet ports. You have to have 12 NVMe drives, or you can have 12 USBs. I tried to get around this by doing Pixie Boot. I'm a little bit out of my league on that one. I don't think, well, maybe not out of my league. This is not something that I'm well versed in. I am learning more about it to get, come up with a solution where you'll be able to run all these, or basically any amount of these, without actually having to plug in USB sticks into them or NVMe drives. Because these add up. Each one of these, even if you can get them for 15, 20 bucks, it's 15 bucks, 30, 45, 60, it adds up quick. $240 in drives for a box that costs 300 bucks or 400 bucks. I don't know at the time of filming. I haven't actually checked recently, but you're now adding half the cost onto there. Whereas I bought 10 of these flash drives for $25 off of Amazon. Are they a worse solution? Yes. Do they stick out and take up a ton of space? Yes. But this thing's already going to be covered in Ethernet cables in the back, so it didn't make a difference to me. The other thing that was kind of a pain with these, maybe compared to obviously any other rig, is the fact that these won't run on either HiveOS or MMPOS right off the bat. I mean, some people say that they have, but I've never had any luck with it. On MMPOS, as soon as I get it booted, I have to go into the miners individually, or into each card individually, and go and do MMP upgrade, and then they'll start working. And sometimes they don't work right off the bat. And from there, I have to do AMD GPU install or AMD OCL install, and install whatever one works for these, the legacies, and then it will start mining. So it's a little bit tedious to get these set up, but once they're good and going, you can literally mine anything on these. It doesn't matter, CPU, GPU, whatever you want to mine, it will do it. Alrighty guys, as you can see, I have my BC250s up, so I went ahead and spent way too long making custom cables for this, flashing all these USB sticks. I actually still have 2 more flashing right now. So as soon as those are done, I'm gonna update the rest of these, get them up and mining on Wart and Ironfish. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. I'm really responsive on that. Also on Discord, reach out to me over there. If you want to pick up some of these ones or octominers and stuff like that, go ahead and use that discount code that I'll be leaving down below in the link or in the description. I think they're doing 10% off. They're also doing massive discounts on other stuff too. I know you can get octominers for like under 300 bucks still. And these things are still super cheap. Honestly, they have low stock from what I understand of them. That's at least what they tell me. They don't think it's going to make it through, the first quarter of 2025. I think they're going to be out of these things, so they will no longer exist. Anyways, feel free to like and subscribe. Only about 80% of you guys, 80% of you guys are not subscribed to me right now. And honestly, it goes a long way. It lets me do stuff like this. It's gonna let me work with other people, do more in-depth teardowns and stuff like that. Like I really honestly want to get some of these Caspa devices in, some of these newer ASICs and stuff, and tear them down, because I think we're all interested. Some of us may not ever buy some of these newer, bigger ASICs, but we're curious what the design philosophy on the inside is, what they look like, what the teardown is, what the maintenance schedule should look like for them. So if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, liking, subscribing, commenting, being active on Discord helps a tremendous amount. A huge amount. Anyways, guys, sorry I'm rambling a little bit. See you guys later this week. Should be having more of these come in. Take care.